For 200 years, no one spoke of Earth. In the Galactic Senate, the name human had become nothing more than a ghost story, something leaders used to scare their children. Eat your food or the humans will come. In them anymore. Earth was gone, exiled, destroyed, forgotten. Until today, high above the mining planet, Vexernine, an old probe floated through deep space. It was slow, dusty, and half-broken. No one paid attention to it until it sent one final message. The probe's camera had captured something. Ship, massive, silent, floating near the ruins of the Sol system. It had no flag, no signal. The shape was familiar, too familiar. Lieutenant Herrick, commander of the Vexer mining outpost, stared at the screen in horror. The ship was covered in black metal, glowing faint blue from its engines. The design matched no modern record, but it carried a terrifying resemblance to an ancient file stored in forbidden archives. He whispered the name like it burned his tongue. Human... The Galactic Senate met in emergency session the next day. They laughed at first. Senator Jula of the Zarn Empire slammed her fist on the table. This is nonsense. The humans were exiled centuries ago. Their planet was stripped. They are extinct. But General Koroven did not laugh. He was old, one of the few living beings who had fought during the human uprising. His cybernetic eye flickered as he stared at the grainy image. No, he said softly. They are not extinct. They were quiet. And now they are moving. Far across the stars, in a dark room on an unmarked space station, a message played on repeat. The last signal from the mining probe, the voice of Lieutenant Harrock, broken and scared, unknown vessel, repeating. Origin Sol System. Configuration matches human dread class. Size 20 kilometers and growing O stars. It's silence. Transmission ended there. No explosion, no scream, just silence. The probe, the mining crew, the station gone. Back in the Senate chambers, panic began to grow. The ruling species, the Uvexi, the Zalari, the Vorn argued among themselves. Some said it was pirates, others blamed rebels. But no one wanted to say the truth out loud. No one wanted to admit the galaxy's greatest fear. Earth was waking up. Deep. Inside the restricted archives, a young historian named Solani searched for answers. She was not a soldier, not a politician, but she had always been curious about the fall of Earth. Why were the humans exiled? Why was their home system sealed? Why were records erased? And why, after 200 years, was a human ship now leaving the Sol system? She broke into the Senate's secret data vaults using old clearance codes. Most files were corrupted or missing. But one folder remained. Labeled in ancient Terran text, Project Rebirth. Solani opened the file. It was short, only one document, one sentence. When the stars forget their fear, they will return. In the dark corners of the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Trade routes went quiet. Ships vanished without a trace. Pirate fleets were found burned, their metal twisted like paper. One survivor young pilot was found drifting in space. His eyes were wide, his voice broken. He kept repeating the same words. No warning, no sound, just lights. Red lights. And then they were gone. Solani sat alone, staring at the old photo from the probe. She zoomed in again and again. The ship had no flag, no crew visible, no weapons active, but in the corner near the engine core, she saw something, barely visible, painted in gray, half-burned, yet still there. One word. Terra, back in the Senate, General Koroven, stood before the council. He removed his medals and placed them on the table. If this is what I think it is, we are already too late. The room went silent. No one laughed now. Far out beyond the stars, the massive human dreadnought moved in complete silence. No signal, no lights. Just slow, steady movement toward the outer systems. And inside it, deep in the command deck, a single human stood, his face calm, his eyes cold. He looked at the stars ahead and whispered, "We're coming home." The stars had grown quiet. Not silent, but quiet in a strange, dangerous way, like a breath held too long. Like the calm before a storm, all across the galaxy, small things began to happen. Ships reported strange static in their radios. Drones lost signal near old, forgotten systems. And on certain nights, deep space beacons echoed with a pattern no one had heard in 2 centuries. It was an old code, Terran, Danery. Only one species had ever used it. Solani sat alone in her study, the lights dim, her hands shaking. She stared at the words she found in the forbidden archive. When the stars forget their fear, they will return. The historian had never believed in ghosts. Now, her heart beat faster each time she looked up at the night sky. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she kept listening. And at 3:17 a.m., her comlink picked up something strange, a deep, rhythmic sound. Not a voice, not words. Just a pattern tap. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tapter translator tried to decode it. After 5 minutes, the result came in. We see you. On the moon of Norax 3, a cargo station went completely. Dark rescue teams were sent. But when they arrived, they found no bodies, just melted doors. Half-eaten food on plates, and one message scratched into the wall with a blade. We remember, the message was written in English. In the Senate, panic turned into fear. Senator, Jula shouted across the chamber, "This is a trick. No species can survive exile and silence for 200 years. But General Koroven simply stared at the display screen, his metal fingers tapping the table slowly. He knew better. He had seen what humans could. Not with strength, with patience. Solani received a message that same day from someone she didn't. No, it had no return address. The voice was male, calm, cold. They tried to erase us. They failed. The stars will remember what they buried. And when they do, the scream will echo forever. Attached to the message was a file, an old black and white video, showing a classroom full of Terran children wearing simple uniforms, smiling. A title played over the video. First Class, Generation Rebirth. Meanwhile, deep in the border, systems, entire species began to vanish. The peaceful Lyrox colony, its population 12 million, sent out a distress signal. They were under attack, but not by bombs. Not by fire, by fear. Their systems went dark. Their ships stopped responding. The colony's main computer was locked out by a virus using old Earth code. The last image broadcast showed shadows walking through the streets, humanoid, armored. In black, no weapons drawn, no words spoken. Just presence. Overwhelming. Cold presence. Then the camera shut off. General Venn went to visit an old vault hidden beneath the capital planet. The vault was marked Level 0, classified before exile. Inside were relics from the human wars, broken weapons, damaged flags, shattered armor. At the very center sat a glass pod. Inside the pod. Impossible. A small speaker came to life. You locked us away. But you couldn't lock away the truth. Solani dug deeper. She found whispers of something called Project Hades. It was created by humans just before exile. A last plan, a last hope, not to survive, but to return. To remind the stars what they had done, her screen lit up with fragments of ancient logs. They took our children. They burned our colonies. We will return, not for revenge, but for truth. Solani's hands trembled. They were framed, she whispered, back in deep space. The black dreadnought continued moving. Slowly, silently it passed broken satellites. It ignored calls for identity. It made no sound. But behind it came others. One. By one, shadows appeared. Not one ship. Not 10. A fleet. A fleet of ships built in exile, carved from asteroid rock, powered by stolen suns, invisible to scanners, deadly to systems. They had waited long enough. At that moment, across over 70 star systems, the lights flickered. Military networks crashed. Banking systems glitched. Civilian comms went dark. One message appeared on every screen, in every language, across every world. We are awake. Alani backed away from her console. Her breath came in short gasps. They were never gone, she said softly. They were watching, learning, waiting. Stars had forgotten their fear, and now they would remember. The stars had begun to whisper again, but this time, they whispered fear. Entire fleets had gone missing. First it was pirates, then small patrol units, then whole trade convoys. No alarms, no distress signals, just silence. One by one, ships vanished near the outer rim of the galaxy. The system surrounding the Soul Exile Zone had become cold-like. Something alive was watching. Breathing in the dark, and then came the first survivor. Captain Drelvern floated alone in an escape pod. Eyes wide, skin pale. The patrol crew who found him said he didn't speak for hours. Stared. But when he did speak, said one word, ghosts. He was a soldier from the Arkham Patrol Force, assigned to monitor the borders of the Forbidden Zone. He claimed his fleet had found something massive. We saw ships. It's too many to count. No lights, no markings. They were black. Like shadows moving in the stars. They didn't shoot. They didn't speak. They just moved. Like they already owned space. His pod's memory drive was damaged, but one fragment remained. Single frame. It showed a shadowy outline of a ship nearly 30 kilometers long. Silent. Unscannable on the hull. It's barely visible. A faded emblem of Earth. A cracked globe, surrounded. By fire in the Galactic Senate, chaos broke out. We're being hunted, said Admiral Resch. This is war, said Senator Jula. But General Koro Ven said nothing. He stared at the image of the Shadow Fleet, his expression unreadable. He had seen something like this before long ago, during the last human war. Though ships were old, loud, and desperate, these were something else. These were reborn. In a hidden command center beneath the surface of the Senate's homeworld. Military leaders met in secret. Their worst fear had become reality. The Ghost Fleet was real. It had no known commander, no known destination. Only one pattern it left nothing behind. Every ship it crossed vanished. Entire stations were now graveyards. Floating in the dark, Solani the historian sat in her office staring at maps. The attacks weren't random. They were moving in a perfect arc forming a circle. She overlaid the circle. Onto a galactic map, her heart stopped. The center of the circle was the Senate itself. She sent a message to General Ven. They're not just returning. They're surrounding us. Meanwhile, in a quiet sector near the Kelver Nebula, a pirate king named Raxon prepared his fleet for war. He had heard of the Ghost Fleet. He didn't believe the stories. He gathered over 200 ships and waited, hoping to capture whatever tech the humans were hiding. He got his wish. At 0300 Galactic time, the Ghost Fleet arrived. No warnings. No messages. Just dark shapes appearing from hyperspace, silent and still. Raxon's fleet opened fire. For 10 minutes, space lit up like a star being born, and then everything stopped. Raxon's flagship was found 2 days later floating. Split in half, no signs of battle, no signs of weapons. Just one message burned into the metal walls. We see your fear. Solani sat across from General Ven in a private chamber. He looked tired, his voice slow. They waited in the dark. For centuries, he said. They let the galaxy grow fat and proud. Solani leaned forward. Why didn't they attack before? Met her eyes. Because now we're weak. And they're not angry anymore, they're ready. In the shadows of deep space, the fleet gathered. Hundreds of ships. Thousands. No lights, no signals. Their hulls absorbed radar. Their engines ran cold, but their eyes, if they had any, were fixed on one thing. Home, inside the lead ship once known as Ia's Vengeance. A man stood in silence. His name was Adrian Voss, a human warburn. A soldier of the last true Earth army, frozen in cryo for 180 years. Awakened by machines, rebuilt by vengeance. He looked out at the stars. Around him, AI voices whispered updates. Worlds falling silent, fleets running scared. But he said nothing. He reached out and touched the metal wall. Carved there in his own handwriting were the words, "Never forget, never forgive, never again." He turned to the AI and spoke for the first time in days. "Begin Phase 2. The lights inside the ship turned blood red. The fleet turned toward the inner systems in the Senate. Emergency sirens rang out. Dozens of planets had gone silent in the last 24 hours. The Ghost Fleet had moved, and now they were coming, a cold pod drifted through the silence of space. It had no signal, no lights, no heat. Just a single human inside, frozen in cryosleep. The pod had been adrift for over 180 years. Until now. A patrol unit from the Zalari watchtower spotted the object. Near the edge of their system. Curious, they brought it in for study. Inside, they found something impossible. He looked young, maybe 30. Muscular build, scars on his neck and hands. His body was covered in cryoburn marks. But the real shock came when they scanned his DNA. Earthborn. 100%. Pure human. The Zalari scientists didn't believe it at first. Earth had been sealed. Humanity was gone. And yet, this man lived. They thawed him slowly, monitored every cell, every breath. When he finally opened his eyes, he didn't scream, didn't panic. He simply whispered, "How long has it been?" News of the human reached the Senate within hours. General Koroven requested immediate custody, but the Zalari refused. They wanted to study him. Then their power grid failed. Their security system shut down, and a simple message appeared on every terminal. "Release him." Wade Selena was allowed to meet him first. She expected a monster, a savage, a killer from the past. But when she walked into the holding room, she saw a man sitting calmly, silent, watching. He looked at her not with anger, but with deep, ancient sadness. She introduced herself. He said his name, Adrian Voss, Selena. Sat down slowly. "You're the last survivor of Earth." Adrian shook his head. "No, just the first one you've seen." He didn't speak much, only when she asked the right questions. "Why now?" she asked. "Why return after all this time?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "You exiled us. You hunted us. You told the stars we were monsters." Solani looked confused. The records say Earth rebelled. The humans committed genocide. Adrian leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Did you ever see the full records?" She froze. "I didn't think so," he said. ADRIE explained the truth. Earth never started the war. The war was brought to Earth. Humans resisted. They fought back with everything they had. And when they couldn't win, they chose exile. But exile wasn't surrender. It was a warning. "I told you to leave us alone. You sent fleets. You've bombed our colonies. You took our children, and then you erased the truth." He looked her in the eyes. "So we hid. We rebuilt. We watched. And we remembered." Solani felt a chill in her bones. She asked the final question. "What do you want now?" Adrian stood up slowly. He walked to the viewing glass and stared at the stars. "We don't want revenge. We want justice. We want the truth brought into the light." He turned toward her. "But if your galaxy won't listen, we will make it remember." That night, Adrian escaped. No alarms were triggered. No guards were hurt. He was simply gone. In his place, on the wall of his cell, someone had etched words in Terran script. "We warned you, and now we remind you." All across the outer systems, Ghost Fleet ships began appearing in full view. No longer hiding, they hovered above planets without firing a shot. Cities fell silent. Armies stood still. And on every world, the same message played in every language. "We gave you time. We gave you space. You gave us lies. Now Earth speaks." In the Senate, emergency meetings continued. Panic ruled every room. Some demanded surrender. Others wanted war, but General Koroven stood alone near the window. looking into the stars. "He's not a soldier anymore," Ven whispered. "He's something else now." The young officer approached. "Sir, what should we do?" Ven closed his eyes. "Hope he still remembers mercy." Deep inside the lead ship, Adrian stood once more. He wore ancient battle armor, dark, scarred but powerful. Human technology hummed with life around him. An AI voice spoke. "All systems ready. Commander Voss, target coordinates received." Adrian nodded slowly. No more hiding. No more silence. He stepped forward onto the command deck. Behind him, thousands of human soldiers stood in silence. Eyes locked forward, born in exile, raised in darkness. Trained for this day, Adri yet raised his hand. Begin the return. The stars trembled, not from war, not from fire, but from presence. Earth had returned, not with noise, not with rage, but with cold, unstoppable silence. On the edge of the galaxy, near the collapsed soul exile zone, something rose from the heart of Jupiter. A structure the size of a moon. It moved slowly. It breathed like a beast. It was not a ship. It was the Star Shatter Arc. Inside the Senate, alarms rang across all systems. Galactic defense couldn't explain it. Jupiter had long been scanned empty, dead, covered in radiation. But now, sensors showed movement under its storms. Heat, power, formation, and then a shape emerged. A triangle-shaped station, glowing with deep blue light, began rising from Jupiter's core, leaving fire and lightning in its path. One terrified analyst whispered, "It was hiding there the whole time." Solani watched from her chamber, her breath shallow. Adrien had warned them. And now, Earth was no longer hiding. The Star Shader Arc sent no message. It simply activated its AI signal, which silently reached thousands of Ghost Fleet ships across 100 systems. Human vessels turned perfectly, aligned, and they moved, not in chaos. In formation, they were not attacking. They were reclaiming. Earth's AI began awakening old Turan relays buried beneath neutral worlds, abandoned human colonies, long thought. Lost lit up with power once again, civilian systems began failing across the outer rim. Communication blacked out. Supply routes failed, but no battles took place. No shots were fired. Earth wasn't starting a war. It was turning the galaxy off. General Ven watched it all from orbit. Stunned. "This isn't conquest," he muttered. "This is shutdown." One of the quiet planets, Eulo's Prima, large metal tower, rose from underground. People ran, panicked. Then, soft, calm voice echoed from every speaker. "We are home. We do not come to burn. We come to cleanse. Truth will walk." Again, even if it walks alone. At the edge of known space, a hidden Terran command center came online. Inside, it stood Adrian Voss, surrounded by his command crew, part human, part machine, all exiled, all loyal. He looked at the screen showing live updates, planet after planet. System after system, human techs, island and ancient, was coming back to life, and the galaxy could do nothing. Solani sent Adrian one last message. "Is this war?" His reply was short. "No. This is memory." In a massive conference on the capital planet, the Senate gathered for a final vote. Surrender? Negotiate? Fight? Before the vote began, all the lights went out. A hologram appeared, not of a face, not of a fleet, of Earth, spinning slowly, burned, scarred, but alive. A voice. "Played an ancient recording. From before the exile, we do not seek war. But if you bring fire to our skies, we will return it to your stars. You will not break us. You will only teach us patience." One senator cried out, "What do they want?" From above, a voice answered, "Live, clear, human. Edrien Voss. We want the lies to end. We want the records opened. We want the names of every child stolen from our worlds. And we want every voice silenced by your false history to speak again." The Senate sat in silence. No vote, no speeches, just fear across the stars. Earth's ghost fleet now floated openly. Each ship bore a new symbol, a burning phoenix rising. From a cracked world, and below it, 2 words in every language: we remember. Back inside the Star Shatter Arc, Adrian stood at a vast window looking at Earth's reflection in Jupiter's shadow. He whispered, "We gave them peace. They gave us silence." He turned toward the war map. His voice grew firm. "Now we give them truth." The AI voice responded, "Phase 3. Awaiting your order, Commander." Adrian looked at the thousands of stars marked red, and he said the words, "Let them see us." They thought Earth would bring fire. Instead, Earth brought silence. A silence so deep it shattered the galaxy. On the planet Vernix 5, the sky turned dark at noon, not from clouds. Not from war, from ships. Hundreds of massive human dreadnoughts floated silently above the cities. No shots fired, no lights blinking. Just quiet, cold, calculated quiet. The people panicked. But the ships did nothing, no missiles. God. No invasions. Just presence, and then every screen turned on. A voice played in every home. Every office, every station. We do not conquer, we uncover. The truth will shatter your sky, not our guns. Boiled dozens of worlds were now under peaceful control by Earth's ghost fleet. No battles, no blood, but also no resistance. Entire systems had gone offline, not by attack, but by choice. Earth was winning without firing a single shot. Admiral Raish stood in the Senate war room. Eyes shaking, our fleets refused to engage. The soldiers. They won't fire. General Koroven nodded slowly. They remember, or at least, their blood does. Across the stars, truth began leaking. Earth's A's hacked into galactic archives. They unlocked sealed records files buried by the Senate. For centuries, the truth spilled like poison. Images of burned human colonies. Documents proving Earth didn't start the war. Testimonies from captured human children, experimented on. Signed orders from long-dead senators approving. Operation Silence, the plan to erase humanity, the galaxy watched in horror. Solani wept as she read the files. She always believed there was more to the story. But not like this. She had trusted the system. Now she saw what Earth had seen: not fear, not revenge, but betrayal. Protests erupted on 1,000 worlds. Citizens demanded answers. Military leaders resigned. Some planets began welcoming Earth's fleet, offering food and land. One message was sent from a colony near the rim: "We are sorry, come home." But not all bowed. Some empires still stood proud. One was the Zarn, Dominion, ancient enemies of Earth. They launched a full assault on a ghost fleet near Sector B-9.30 warships against 5 Terran vessels. The battle lasted 11 seconds only. One human ship moved. The rest stayed still. The moving ship disabled all 30 enemies without firing a single weapon. It simply used signal jamming, gravity locks, and neural pulses. The enemy ships shut down mid-flight and floated in silence. The message that followed was simple: this is mercy. On the bridge of the Star Shatter Arc, Adrian Voss watched the chaos spread. His crew stood ready. He gave no smile, no joy, only silence. A young officer approached. "Sir, we have reports. 13 systems surrendered without contact. For more, just shut down their own defenses." Adrian nodded. "Begin Phase 4. The AI responded. "Execute, memory pulse." At that moment, every world connected to the old Terran network received a signal. It wasn't just words, it was history, images, sounds, scars. Children crying as Earth burned. Families erased. Human diplomats begging for peace and being shot. The galaxy saw what Earth had hidden all this time, and what the Senate had buried. The real shattering didn't come from ships. It came from inside. Entire governments collapsed. Alliances broke. Empires fractured because now no one could deny the truth, and the truth had teeth. General Venn stood outside the Senate hall. Looking up at the stars, he whispered, They didn't return to fight. A young officer asked. Then why, sir? Ben answered softly. 2. Make us feel what they felt. On the hidden capital of Earth, no longer dead. But reborn, a memorial was lit. It bore the names of every human killed during the Exile War. Hundreds, thousands. Children, farmers, teachers, doctors forgotten by. The stars, remembered by their own? Adrie stood before the stone wall, hand over his chest. We were never monsters, he whispered. We were just broken. And you taught us how to never forget. The galaxy finally understood. Earth did not want to. Rule.Earth wanted the truth to scream. And now, scream had begun. The Senate chamber was quiet, not because of peace, but because of shame. The truth had come like a storm, tearing through every lie, every locked file, every speech ever made to hide Earth's pain. World after world had seen the past. Now they waited. For what came next, a giant ship landed above the capital, not in secret, not in shadow, in full view of every news drone. Every scanner, every living being. The Starshatter Ark had arrived. Inside the Senate, guards lined the walls. Every weapon pointed at the door. He's coming, Senator whispered. General Koroven stood near the front, his eyes closed, his hands behind his back. He didn't move when the doors opened. A DRI and Voss walked in alone. No armor, no weapons, just a single data crystal in his hand. The guards raised their weapons. Ven raised his hand. Let him pass. Dreen walked slowly down the aisle, every eye locked on him, a human, real, breathing. A ghost from the past now standing in the heart of power. He stood before the Senate chair and spoke with calm, quiet fire. You erased our name. You erased our voice. And when we begged for peace, you silenced our children. Gasps echoed across the room. Senator Jula shouted, That was centuries ago. You're not those people. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Then, why are you still hiding the truth? He raised the data crystal and placed it on the table. A hologram flickered to life. The chamber watched in horror as the image showed. Human refugee ships being destroyed by Senate fleets. Secret meetings where Earth's surrender was ignored. Videos of captured human children in cages used for testing. The Order of Silence signed by 12 senior senators declaring Earth an acceptable loss for galactic unity. The screams on the recording were real, unedited, unforgivable. One young senator fell to his knees. An elder covered her eyes, Solani, watching from the balcony, wept openly. No one could look away. And then Adrian said the words that broke the chamber. You feared what we would become. So you taught us how to become it. Senator Jula stood, shaking with rage. You want revenge? Is that it? You want us to kneel? Adrian stepped closer. No, I want you to listen. He turned and pressed another button on the crystal. The hologram shifted now. It showed something else. Something worse. A secret Senate meeting. It's hidden deep in the records. Not about Earth, but about a virus. A virus that was tested. On humans first, the same virus later used to control population in the Rim. World Solani gasped. They didn't just betray Earth. They used Earth as a test ground. Now the chamber. Broke, senators screamed. Some fled. Others collapsed in grief only. General Venz stood still, his eyes locked on Adrian. Why bring this now? He asked. Adrie looked at him. Because you always feared us. But you never feared what made us fight. In the silence, the heavy doors opened again, and a child walked in, human, alive, holding a glowing orb. The senators stared in disbelief. Who is that? Someone asked. Adrian answered, one of the stolen. We found them, all of them, raised in secret labs, forgotten by the galaxy. The orb glowed brighter. A soft voice played from dozens of children speaking in unison. We are the voices you buried, and we remember. Now no one spoke. There was no more denial. No more defense. The lies had rotted too long. The truth had risen too high. Adrie turned to leave, but before he walked away, he looked over his shoulder. We are not here to destroy your stars. We are here to light our own. As he stepped out into the light, crowds gathered. No guns, no protests, just silence. The kind of silence that follows a scream. General Ven remained behind. He looked at the orb, at the crystal, at the senators crying, and he whispered, "They were never the monsters. We were." Far above the capital, the ghost fleet floated in peace. No weapons active, no threats made. Just one message left behind on every world. Truth does not ask for permission. It only asks to be heard. The war never came. There were no missiles, no battles, no last stand. Instead, there was silence. And then, after Adrian Voss walked out of the Senate chamber, he was never seen again. No farewell speech, no demands, no orders, just vanished like a shadow returning to the stars. But his message remained. Across the galaxy, the Ghost Fleet did not conquer it. It waited above every major world. Human ships hovered for days, watching, listening, then dashed one by one. They powered down and left. They didn't stay to rule. They didn't take prisoners. They simply showed the stars the truth and walked away. The galaxy stood still for weeks. Governments fell. Lies collapsed, and from the rubble, people began asking the same question. What happens now? On the rim worlds, a child held a candle under the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Earth." A mining moon. An alien family replaced their empire's flag with Earth's symbol, Phoenix rising from a broken planet. On neutral worlds, humans once hunted were welcomed home, and in the streets of powerful core planets, protests turned into prayers, not to gods, but to memory. Duddy Selani, the historian, stood in front of the massive wall of names, the Terran memorial now installed. In the heart of the Senate Capitol, she added one final name, Adrian Voss. Not as a soldier, but as a reminder. Below it, she wrote, "The man who made the galaxy remember." The Senate tried to speak, but no one listened. The voice of power had cracked. Now, only the truth held power then. One final message arrived. Not from a DRIE, not from any ship, but from Earth itself, broadcast across all systems. A dark screen lit up slowly. A voice played, calm, emotionless, ageless. "The Earth AI, you feared our anger. You should have feared our memory. We leave your sky now, not because you deserve peace, but because we've already won." The screen flickered, not with guns, not with fleets, but with truth. And finally we are. Human, we were broken, but we were never gone. The signal ended. No threat, no farewell, just truth. The Ghost Fleet disappeared. Entirely, no wreckage, no trace. Like ghosts returning to the dark. A year passed. The galaxy changed forever. The new galactic charter was signed not by empires but by survivors. It included a single law, written in every known language. No history shall be buried again. Earth was no longer feared. Now, it was respected. Humans returned to the stars, not with war but with wisdom. They became teachers, engineers, healers. They helped rebuild the same galaxy that once erased them, not because they forgot, but because they refused to become what their enemies once were, some say. Adrian Voss still lives. Some say he sleeps beneath the ruins of old Earth. Others believe he became part of the AI, itself a voice guiding the Ghost Fleet in silence. But no one knows. Only this remained. A single message carved into stone beneath the Terran flag. We were exiled. We were forgotten. We were feared. Now, we are free. In the end, the galaxy didn't just remember Earth. It remembered what it means to be human. Not power, not pride, but the refusal to break.